Things remain spicy in the race for the first round 999 max round in Black Ops 6 Zombies. Over the last few days, the frontrunner accidentally ended his game on round 589, the new second place player was involved in cheating allegations, and there was a few unexpected people making a surge towards the top, with one of them even jumping all the way up to first place. Plus, there was a huge update that even knocked out one of the players from contention. The strategy for high rounds has even changed too, meaning that everyone needed to adapt their strategy or risk falling behind. Even on top of all of this is someone's round 533 match getting ended because of a tragic glitch by Treyarch. Let's try to get to 2,000 likes today and maybe help me get to 169,000 subs if you enjoy what you're seeing. When all the contenders matches first began in late October, the high round strategy was basically to keep the left side of the spawn closed. Then through the first 20 rounds or so, work on getting the jet gun through the free Easter egg and also upgrade the GS45 pistols. Pretty much everyone uses them as their secondary because it's the best gun in the game besides the jet gun. After a little while, everyone would then migrate to the back of the bowling alley using the jet gun as much as they possibly could. When things got a little bit overwhelming, just use the Ether Shroud field upgrade to hide for a few seconds or activate a score streak like the mutant injection. If they weren't constantly spamming the mutant injection, then you wouldn't really have to worry about salvage at all because manglers would drop score streaks while you're using a score streak. Then flash forward a few days and Treyarch dropped an update, but without telling anyone in the patch notes, the game updated to no longer drop score streaks while you're using score streaks. This update basically changed the race overnight because it completely changed the salvage economy, since now everyone needed to buy mutant injections more often from the crafting table instead of getting them off the ground. With each of them costing 2,500 salvage, it's a pretty steep price to pay. Every player in their match is also playing on the most current updates because saving and quitting actually applies the update to your match without completely ending it, so they're not playing on older updates if anyone was wondering. In response to this update, all players noticed that they were running out of salvage behind the bowling alley and needed a way to farm salvage more effectively. The solution was to go to the bank roof and sit there right next to a zip line where it was much safer to use the jet gun. When you ran out of ammo for that, either zip line to get away or drop down to the crafting table right below you, then run back up to the top of the bank. Doing this while tapping the jet gun's ammo was still somewhat fast and gave everyone a good way to farm up salvage. Once they were back to like 50 to 80,000 salvage, then they'd head to the back of the bowling alley since it's the fastest strategy and play there until salvage runs out again for them, then rinse and repeat. Or at least most players did that, while I on the other hand chose to sit on the bank roof throughout the entire match. I personally found it to be a safer strategy where I could stack salvage for the long term. The first few hundred rounds being a little bit slow really didn't matter to me much because this game is so long. Because for a little bit of perspective here, this round 999 might end up being one of the longest games in Zombies history. Round 700 is the estimated halfway point time-wise, with an estimated total play time for 999 being over 200 hours to complete. There was also some rumor about the max number of zombies per round being capped at 250, but that's just wrong. The real info is that the zombies have a max health of 50,000, which happens at round 55. Zombies at round 100 get an extra 20 to 25% damage buff that they deal to you, and the round length increases infinitely. So surely now things must have settled into being a pretty stable race now, right? Well, wrong, because on November 4th, Treyarch dropped another update which actually fixed a huge bug in the game. On Quick Revive, there are two different major augments that everyone is using, Equivalent Exchange and Dying Wish, both of which basically allow you to not use your self-revive when you've taken enough damage to go down. Each of these is also limited to being 3 uses each per game, but they were actually both bugged. Every time that you'd save and quit a match, it would reset the usages, meaning your self-revives would be pretty safe and you could theoretically have hundreds of downs across a long game. This became important because all players were using the same augments in their classes, like the old frontrunner Blazer 935 and second place the official KHF. I'm not entirely sure about Blazer, but I know KHF did use more than 3 activations throughout his match before it was fixed. Now that it's patched to work properly though, it makes round 999 significantly harder to achieve. That wasn't the only way to kind of cheese things though, and this one actually caused some drama and cheating accusations. I talked about this in my last video, but since then I got some more clarification to give to you guys to give you the best info possible. Basically, on day 1 of the race being official, once Treyarch increased the round cap to 999, KHF was playing his match like normal. On round 325, he got annoyed because he claimed his game was lagging, which in fairness is something that does happen in Black Ops 6. If you played high rounds in Black Ops 6, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It happens a fairly decent amount. Either way, he ends up taking it down in his game with a chopper gunner in his inventory plus a revive augment, but not a self-revive. Instead of using either of those, he chose to save and quit in the middle of the round because he was annoyed. Doing this actually allows him to re-enter the match at the start of the round with his perks, effectively giving him a do-over of the entire round. At the time he did this, another contender contender and streamer named Insom Virus was in the chat and disagreed with what KHF did. He then started up his stream and began to talk about it, unmodding KHF in his stream and saying how he couldn't agree with that type of play. Then some really weird and parasocial people decided to go to KHF's stream and be mean to him and come up with more pieces to the story that just weren't true, like him using god mode glitches. I should clarify, Insomnia did not tell people to do this and he doesn't condone it. This whole situation was really weird though, because in my video I thought it was because of KHF using the infinite quick revive augments. Then KHF himself claims he didn't know the reason for being called a cheater, since he claims he asked and wasn't given a direct answer about it. That means the argument for him being a cheater and it not being a legitimate game is that in the round 325 situation he could have game overed here and it's unethical to restart the round. I agree, restarting the round is something that shouldn't be done and is a conversation to have about the legitimacy of it. However, I personally don't think he would have game overed here, since all he needed to do was run to the top of the stairs, use the chopper gunner, and use the few seconds in between where they don't target you to buy a mutant injection. If he does make it to the crafting table, he could then spam them until the round was over. There is a chance that he could have died though. We don't know for certain what would have happened, but I don't think that is something that he would have totally game over doing. Even though from a couple of people that I have talked to, they did think that he would have game overed, so it's kind of up for debate. I'll leave you guys with the decision of whether KHF's match should be considered legit or not if he actually does make it to the max round, but this does bring up a conversation of what's actually considered cheating here. Anyone who's played BO6 zombies for high rounds knows that the Vermin rounds are way too long, actually taking more time to complete than the regular rounds when you're past 200. Every player in this race though has decided to actually not play them because they're tedious and they take forever. All you need to do when you start a bug round is just save and quit and then load back in. When you re-enter the match, there's a 5 out of 6 chance that it will be a regular zombie round instead of a Vermin round. On the last video, tons of you guys thought it was cheating to do that. Some people think that even being able to save and quit at all is cheating, since it's not being played all at once. So where do we draw the line of whose game is the most legit? Or if any of them are legit at all, because the constant updates from Treyarch and a lack of a real rule set since the game's only been out for 2 weeks is creating a really interesting environment. Keep in mind, this all happened before the last high round strategy change. That's how long this game has actually been. Eventually everyone got tired of the rooftop strategy being a little bit slow, so Insom Virus figured out that if you add the Void Sheath augment to Ether Shroud and the Melee Macchiato augment of Hidden Impact, you don't actually need to leave the back alley as much. With these augments combined, every time you use Ether Shroud, you could knife a bunch of zombies and manglers to recharge ammo in your jet gun. Even if it's half of the ammo back to the jet gun, it meant significantly more salvage and faster rounds overall. Pretty much everyone in the race is running those augments at this point, even though Treyarch once again messed with the game by reducing Ether Shroud activations from 10 seconds to 8 seconds in a patch a couple of days ago. So where does this leave all the contenders at right now? Well, I'm actually out of the race because I was streaming and on round 414, I took it down while reading chat, and then my controller's left stick has been having issues for days, so I couldn't sprint away properly and just died. Then ahead of me was a guy named Decal who was on round 533 just running the strategy like everyone else when he tried to use a mutant injection score streak. For some reason though, nothing happened this time. He wasn't able to die, but then he also couldn't use a gun, and then he got pushed into third person mode like it normally would when you're in the Mangler mode. After running around for a bit, he got shoved into a corner by all the zombies and he couldn't really move very much, and then since he had just loaded back into the game, he couldn't then save and quit to fix the problem, and he also couldn't wait out the pause timer for the same reason. After a couple of minutes of trying to figure out what to do, his game just ended despite him having a self-revive, all of his perks, and not taking it down. Why? Because the game claimed that he was inactive for too long despite jumping around to try and escape the corner. What a tragic way for a 48-hour game to end. That's absolutely crazy work by Treyarch. The show continues though, because in front of him in third place is Insom Virus, who's at round 669, nice, and is making his way through rounds at a pretty decent pace. In second place is the official KHF, who's exactly round 700, which like we established earlier means he's basically halfway done with this match, even though that's a crazy statement to say out loud. And then in first place we have someone who I mentioned last time but has leapfrogged his competitors by a pretty decent margin, and that's Mystic. As of recording, Mystic is on round 724, which puts him, I would say, 4 to 5 hours ahead of KHF, and he doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Right now he's probably the betting favorite to win and get to 999 first, but there's still literally half of the game left to play. And as you guys have seen in this video, literally anything can happen between now and then. Everyone I mentioned in this video is linked below. Go and show them a lot of love because their grind is insane and they deserve it. Thank you for watching. Love you. Bye-bye.